frequently asked question in the whole time that you've been doing these interviews?
Well, there's a few of them. When I used to tour with the guys, the most frequent asked question was, how'd you guys get started?
Right.
And then now I would say, there's a few. A lot of people always ask, are you guys ever going to get back together?
Right.
And things like that. And as of right now, it's not, nobody's thinking about it at all.
Everybody seems wrapped up in what they're doing, which is a good thing.
Which is great. Yeah. Everybody, and because I think the things that everybody's doing are great things. So. I would say one of the only other, it's usually nothing except for are you dating anybody? And that's pretty much whatever. So.
I'm sure these ladies would like to know the answer to that one.
I'm not dating anybody. I'm not trying to even deal with it. Right?
And half of the women are smiling in this room, by the way. The reason I brought that up because I was going to ask this question. I'm thinking, oh god, he's probably had to ask this about me.
You can ask me anything you want.
No, which is cool. But it's always been a curiosity because the Disney Channel now is so huge.
Yeah.
And you were kind of on the ground floor with the new Mickey Mouse Club, and you were kind of a part of that.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
You know what? It was a great experience, man. That's really when I found out how much that I really enjoyed music. I was around a group of kids that had the same interest as me, and before when I was growing up in the neighborhood, it was kind of like. It just wasn't a popular thing, and it was more about you would go out and buy the records, and you were just supposed to like them, and you didn't have to have aspirations to do anything like that. And here I was thrown in with a group of people that have been doing it really, since they were born. All those kids, and I was kind of like a late bloomer, but it was a fantastic experience. Those kids were great, and I'll always have them in my heart for the rest of my life. They helped me find myself, and so. They're great.
It's amazing because I think about if that show were on now, just the way the Disney Channel is. I mean, it was pretty big. It would just be humongous at this point, especially with the group of people you work with.
Yeah, if you really think about it, you're talking about Kerry Russell. You're talking about Ryan Gosling, who's nominated for awards.
Thank you. I was about to say Academy Award nominated Ryan Gosling. Bravo. I have not seen it. It's on my list of I've got to see Half Nelson now.
Absolutely. And then you've got obviously Britney Spears, which is a topic of conversation. You got Christina Aguilera, who's unbelievably talented. You've got Mr. Justin Timberlake, who's unbelievably talented, and you've got myself trying to make a living. So, yeah, it's really it's a heck of a show. And there's many more, by the way, that have gone on to do things in the business and things like that. But just a really great group of people, and I'm thankful for every one of them.
So right there, like you were saying, you discovered the whole thing, but was there a part of you that was saying, okay, acting, singing during the whole thing?
The minute when I did that show, I knew that after being there just for a little bit, that music was my passion. It was just it was the place that intrigued me the most. It was the place that drove me to be better, and I loved everything about it. So.
What's the hardest thing now, being a solo artist, not having the guys around you, and just now knowing it's okay, now it's me, out on my own doing this?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say maybe just the schedule, it's just a matter of when there are other guys there, you don't necessarily have to do every interview. You can be like, look, man, you two guys go do this interview, and we'll three go do this interview, and you can literally split it up and knock out 2 interviews at the same time instead of having to do, 2 in a row, or say, hey, man, it was great, to when we were performing, to be able to, while one guy, especially if it's a ballad, we could sit down for a minute and breathe, man. It was because we jumped around so much, and it was a matter of, that was our chance to, all we had to do was come in on our background part for a second, and then we could breathe, and but really, other than that, no, it's still, it's a game, and it's something that that I love to do, and if you love to do it, you'll put the time and the work and the effort in. So.
You say it so well, because when I heard the single until yesterday, since we're about to talk about this, you shocked me. I did not expect. I was I'm hearing the sound of this, and I'm going, what?
Yeah.
Because I got to admit, you have this preconceived notion almost. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But and going, okay, JC Chasez got a new single. All right. Am I expecting something that's sort of Nsync-esque, or is it going to be like Burning Me Up With a Love again? And then I hear this, and I just went, okay, knock me on my butt. Nicely done. The arrangement alone. Who came up with the obviously this is your baby.
Yeah. Well, this, when I worked with Justin, he really put on the producer cap. We wrote it together, but it was more about, It was more about, he wanted to get the best out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the idea, came from, I came in with the line, and the tagline itself. I was like, there's something about this line that I think is special, and the tagline is, I loved you all the way until yesterday.
And that's a very heavy thing. Now I gotta say that when we play the song, you're gonna hear the lyrics. This is heavy. There's no question about that. I mean, where do you draw on something like that?
Well, I wanted to tell a great story, and that line already is colorful. It's
True.
Right from jump. So it's like, okay, there's a million ways to say, get away from me, I don't want to be with you anymore.
Right.
And we've heard a lot of them, you know what I mean? But this, to me, it felt colorful, and with just the tagline alone, it inspired me to write a very colorful story.
Good way of putting it.
So, so I wanted to create something dramatic, because it's a dramatic and colorful statement. So
Yes.
I wanted to create a dramatic but colorful story.
Mm-hmm.
So it can, it's harsh, and yet, it's so outlandish. It's almost funny in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it felt like, the story that I was telling was a bit campy but serious. And there's so some of the influence there is kind of like Freddie Mercury. He just kind of like, he would always tell like these great stories in all his songs, and yet they would be so melodic, and yet they would be so powerful. And so it ended up kind of, when the record was done, I guess at the end of the day you could feel that influence. It wasn't intentional at first,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it just kind of evolved into this thing. So.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Freddie Mercury, because that was the two things that I caught is like there's a little bit of the Queen, a little bit of that ELO with some of the harmony and arrangement going on here.
Yeah.
I mean, what were you growing up listening to? Because I kind of wonder how this is coming out of you.
Yeah, you know what though? I think that this is just an observation on society.
Okay.
I really think that this generation right now is part of a communication age, and I really don't think that anybody really listens to one style of music anymore.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I think that everybody's exposed to a lot now because of all the forms of communication that we have,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm no different, man. I listen to this kind of music and that kind of music and every kind of music. Maybe it's because I have ADD and I get bored if I listen to too much of one thing. I don't know, but I do. I like changing it up, and